You think you are in control, but you are not. You are not leading your life. You are reacting to it. You wake up every day, not as a player, but as a piece, moved by unseen hands, trapped in a game you never chose to play. And the worst part? You have mistaken noise for strategy, movement for meaning, and approval for peace. You are chasing status, goals, validation, all while something deeper, something essential, is collapsing inside you. You have built defenses around your ego, but left your mind wide open. You post strength, but feel hollow. You perform clarity, but live in confusion. And every decision you make is not really yours. It's just a desperate attempt to be someone you are not sure you even want to be. You think the world is attacking you? Number, the real enemy, is within. It whispers, it doubts, it sabotages. And if you don't silence it, it wins. This is not just motivation, this is war. A war between the version of you that survives and the version of you that's slowly dying, trying to be admired. So the question is not, how do you win? The real question is, what are you willing to protect, even if it costs you everything else? Because if you don't protect your king, the game ends, not with a bang, but with a silent surrender you won't even recognize until it's too late. Most people believe they are in control of their lives, making choices, building dreams, living with purpose. But Carl Jung saw something else. He believed that many of us are not truly living. We are reacting to pain we never faced, reacting to wounds buried so deep, we have forgotten they exist. Jung did not study the mind like a scientist studies a machine. He entered it like a mythological labyrinth, a dark and twisted maze of archetypes, shadows, and forgotten selves. And what he discovered was both revolutionary and terrifying. He found that inside every person lives a hidden force, a king, the part of us meant to rule over our lives with clarity, courage, and consciousness. But for most people, that king is dead, killed by fear, by shame, by a society that punishes individuality and rewards conformity. We think we are free, but most of us are puppets, pulled by strings we can't see, playing roles we did not choose, haunted by voices from our past that still live inside our heads. Jung called this the unconscious. But it's not just some abstract concept. It's real, it's alive, and it's running your life whether you know it or not. This video is not just about Jung's theories. It's about you. It's about the war going on inside your mind, between the part of you that wants to rise and the part that wants to hide, between your inner king and the assassin you don't even know exists. So let's go there, into the depths of the psyche, into the myths, the dreams, and the darkness. Because until you face what's inside you, you will never know who you truly are. And worse, you may never realize that the enemy you have been fighting all along has been you. Imagine a man. From the outside, he has it all: intelligence, wealth, charisma. In business, he never fails. Every goal he sets, he conquers. Every deal he touches turns to gold. People admire him. Some even envy him. But there's one battlefield where he always loses: love. No matter how hard he tries, his relationships collapse. He chooses the wrong partners. He self-sabotages. He withdraws when things get close. And deep down, though he may never say it out loud, he wonders, what's wrong with me? Carl Jung would have had an answer, a dark one. This man is not failing because he's unlucky or broken. He's failing because a part of him does not want to win. A hidden force within him fears intimacy. Perhaps it was a distant mother, a betrayal from the past, or years of learning that vulnerability equals weakness. Whatever the cause, the effect is clear. His subconscious mind has decided that closeness is dangerous, and so it sabotages every attempt at connection, quietly, invisibly, but with devastating precision. This is the illusion of control. We tell ourselves we're making choices, living rationally, acting in our own best interest. But often, we are puppets of our past. Scripts written in childhood still direct our actions. Emotional programs we never chose now run the show. We think we are driving the car, but the unconscious holds the wheel. Jung believed that unless we become conscious of these inner forces, we will be possessed by them. Like a man haunted by a ghost he refuses to see. We will keep repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, attracting the same chaos, and calling it fate. And this does not just apply to love. Think of the perfectionist who burns out, because deep down, she believes she's never enough, or the aggressive leader who pushes everyone away, because inside, he's terrified of being seen as weak, or the silent artist who never shares her work, because a buried voice whispers, "You will be rejected." Each of these lives seems different, but underneath, they are the same story, people at war with themselves and losing. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most people never realize this. They live their entire lives ruled by shadows, blaming others, blaming luck, blaming the world, never knowing that the prison is inside them. But the man who sees the illusion, who understands that his life is being shaped not by what he wants, but by what he fears, that man has taken the first step toward freedom, because you cannot conquer what you refuse to face, and you cannot rule until the inner king awakens. He was a good man, at least that's what everyone said. He was polite, soft-spoken, generous. He never raised his voice, never drank, never cheated, a textbook moral man, the kind of person society praises and secretly uses to measure others. But then one day, he snapped. No one saw it coming. A small argument at work turned into a violent explosion. A coworker insulted him, and something inside him broke loose. He did not just shout. He did not just threaten. He grabbed a chair and smashed the window behind her. The police were called. The company was shaken. And he, trembling, looked in the mirror and said, "I don't know who that was." Carl Jung would have said, "Yes, you do. You just spent your whole life pretending you did not." That terrifying outburst was not a random loss of control. It was the eruption of something buried, something long denied, suppressed, and shamed into silence. Jung called it the shadow. The shadow is not evil. It's simply everything you refuse to see in yourself. Your rage, your envy, your lust, your insecurity, your cruelty. And it grows stronger the more you deny it. Society teaches us early on, be good. And so we obey. We wear masks. We learn to smile when we are angry. We hide our desires. We swallow our pain. And every time we do, another part of us gets exiled into the unconscious. Another piece of our soul goes dark. But here's the twist. The shadow does not disappear. It waits. It waits for a moment of weakness, a crack in the armor, a trigger that hits too close. And when it sees its chance, it does not just whisper. It roars. Jung said, "The brighter the light, the darker the shadow." And that's what made this discovery so dangerous, because it meant the people we call the best, the kindest, the calmest, the most virtuous, may also be the most at risk. Not because they are secretly evil, but because they have buried their darkness so deep that when it comes out, it explodes. Take the man from our story. He believed he was moral, but it was a morality of performance, not integration. He did not own his anger, he denied it. And in doing so, he gave it power. Because whatever we refuse to confront controls us from the dark. This is the terrifying truth Jung uncovered. Your shadow is you, unclaimed. It's the child who was never allowed to scream, the teenager who felt ashamed of their desires, the adult who still hears, "You're not good enough," in the back of their mind. It's every part of you that didn't fit the image, so you threw it into the dungeon, and that dungeon has no lock. If you don't open it willingly, one day it will burst open on its own. That's why Jung did not want people to just be good. He wanted them to be whole. He believed the goal of life was not perfection, it was integration, to bring the shadow into the light, to look your darkest self in the eye and say, "You are part of me, I see you, and I won't run anymore." Because only then can you stop pretending. Only then can you stop living two lives. And only then can the king within you start to rise, not as a mask, but as a sovereign. Jung's most dangerous discovery was not just about psychology, it was about identity, about power, about the terrifying idea that the parts of yourself you hate the most may be the very keys to your transformation. But you have to be willing to enter the dark, because that's where the real you is waiting. He stood in front of the mirror, freshly unemployed after 20 years. No badge, no briefcase, no title, just a man in a reflection. But he didn't know who he was looking at. "I don't know what to do," he whispered, but what he really meant was, "I don't know who I am," without being someone. This is the silent crisis millions live through every day. Not a financial crisis, not even an emotional one, but a crisis of identity. Carl Jung saw it clearly. We live with two selves, the self we present to the world, the ego, and the one we bury beneath it, the real self. The ego is your armor, your reputation, your title, your Instagram bio. It's what you want others to see, the doctor, the leader, the cool guy, the perfect mother. It's built for applause, but the real self, it doesn't want applause. It wants authenticity. It's the quiet voice inside that knows your fears, your dreams, your wounds. It's messy, raw, human, and tragically, ignored. Jung warned that most people live entire lives inside the ego, mistaking their mask for their face. They climb ladders, build personas, and win awards, only to realize, at the top, they've abandoned the person who started the climb. And it begins early. As children, we sense what makes us lovable, so we adapt. A boy hides his tears to be strong. A girl quiets her ideas to be nice. We shapeshift for approval, until the shape becomes a prison. The man in our story, he didn't love his job. He loved what it made him feel, important, respected, seen. But when it was gone, he felt invisible. Because his ego was never a tool, it became his home, his identity, his God. Jung called this confusion the greatest tragedy of the modern soul, the replacement of self with persona. And it comes at a cost. You can't grow if you don't know who you are. You can't heal if your wounds are hidden beneath status. You can't love if your heart is buried under performance. This is why so many people feel empty after success. They reach the summit, only to find the real self still at base camp, waiting to be remembered. To Jung, the answer was not to destroy the ego. That would be foolish. The ego is necessary. We need a face to meet the world, but it must not lead. The real self must sit on the throne, and that takes brutal honesty. You must ask, if I lost everything that makes me impressive, who would I be? If I couldn't be admired, could I still be at peace? If no one watched me succeed, would I still want to? The answers will shake you, but they will also liberate you. Because once you see the mask, you can remove it. And beneath it, you will find something terrifying and beautiful. The real you. Not perfect, not polished, but true. And that truth is the seed of transformation. He never yelled, never argued, never said no. Even when they disrespected him, even when they crossed the line, he smiled, nodded, stayed silent. But inside, a quiet scream lived, a scream that had learned long ago that it was safer to stay hidden. You see, he was taught not to feel anger, not with words, not with lectures, but with looks, punishments, silence. When he got mad as a child, his father got colder, his mother got more afraid. The message was never said, but always clear: anger makes you unlovable. So he split. He created a version of himself who never got angry, never complained, always pleased. He became good, easy, acceptable. But the child he locked away, the one who raged, who screamed, who wanted to fight back, that child did not die. He just went deeper, into the unconscious. This is where Carl Jung's idea of the divided psyche begins. As children, we come into the world whole, raw, real, fully alive. We laugh loudly, cry violently, scream unapologetically. But slowly, we are taught which parts of us are okay, and which must be hidden. Maybe your curiosity annoyed your parents. Maybe your confidence was called arrogance. Maybe your sensitivity was labeled weakness. So, like tiny surgeons, we begin to cut. We amputate emotions that are inconvenient. We exile instincts that are disapproved. We silence truths that are too loud. But here's the paradox Jung exposed. The more you reject parts of yourself, the more they control you. The man who suppresses his anger becomes passive-aggressive. The woman who buries her pain becomes emotionally numb. The child who hides his fear grows into an adult who avoids life altogether. Because when you bury an emotion, you don't kill it. You give it power in the shadows. And that's how the inner war begins. a war between the self you pretend to be and the self you truly are, a war between the mask and the mirror, a war born not of weakness, but of childhood survival. Jung believed that these fractures, these psychic wounds, don't heal with age, they deepen, until one day you look in the mirror and feel like a stranger to your own soul. And it all started with one moment. One time your tears were too much. One time your no was punished. One time your truth was too raw for the world, so you hid it. And that hiding became a habit. That habit became a personality. And that personality became a prison. But here's what Jung wanted you to know. What was once necessary to survive is now keeping you from living. To heal, you must return. Not to the pain, but to the part of yourself you left behind in that pain. You must find that child who was not allowed to feel. You must hold them, not silence them. You must remember, not forget. Because the war inside you won't be won through dominance, but through integration. And when you welcome the parts you once banished, you don't just heal, you become whole. She cried when she got the call, her dream job, a position she'd worked years for, a company she admired, a role that matched everything she had ever said she wanted. Everyone cheered, her parents, her friends. Even her old boss said, "You earned this." And for a moment, she believed it too. But then came the whispers. "Are you sure you are ready? What if they realize you are not good enough? You just got lucky." The first week, she worked twice as hard, just to keep up the appearance. The second week, she started skipping lunch. By the third, she was already imagining quitting. Then one day, she did. She left. She told people it was not the right fit, but deep down, she knew the truth. Something inside her couldn't handle success. This is the cruelty of self-sabotage. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's what she did. She called it bad timing. She called it burnout. But really, it was a belief, planted deep in her unconscious, shaped by years of subtle rejection, quiet shame, invisible expectations. A belief that whispered, "You don't deserve this." Self-sabotage is not loud. It does not scream. It does not announce itself. It hides in hesitation. It lives in procrastination. It thrives in perfectionism. You stay up all night to fix a single line in your project. Not because you care, but because your inner critic says, if it's not perfect, you will be exposed. You ghost the person you love, not because they hurt you, but because your unconscious whispers, they will leave you eventually. You delay starting your dream, not because you are lazy, but because a voice inside says, you'll fail anyway. And the worst part, you think it's you, that you are just weak, that you lack discipline, that you are unlucky. But behind it all is a deeper wound, a childhood where praise was conditional, where love had to be earned, where achievement was never enough. So you grew up believing that joy comes with a catch, that success is suspicious, that happiness is temporary. And now, you sabotage the very things you desire, not because you want to fail, but because your psyche believes failure is familiar, and the familiar feels safe. Jung saw this not as stupidity or weakness, but as a kind of psychic inertia, a survival pattern that once protected you, but now imprisons you. And the tragedy? Most people will never see it. They will live their whole lives in patterns they don't recognize, calling it just the way I am. But the truth is far more terrifying. You are not living your life. You're reliving your wounds. And until you bring them to light, you will continue to build cages out of your own hands. So, if you have ever pulled away just as things got good, if you have ever felt fear when success knocked on your door, if you have ever ruined something beautiful and didn't know why, it was not weakness. It was not fate. It was a forgotten part of you, trying to protect you from a pain you no longer need to feel. In ancient myth, Hercules faced a monster so terrifying it defied logic, the Hydra, a serpent with many heads. Strike one down, and two more rose in its place. It was not just a beast, it was a metaphor for something much darker. Repression. In Jungian psychology, repression is not forgetting, it's burying. But buried things don't die, they grow. You repress your anger, and it becomes passive aggression. You repress your desire, and it mutates into addiction. You repress your sadness, and it turns into numbness so deep, you forget what it means to feel alive. Like the Hydra, each emotional head you sever without facing transforms, stronger, smarter, hungrier. But here's the terrifying truth. You can't see the Hydra in the mirror. You see a polite man, a disciplined woman, a calm and collected adult. But underneath, boiling rage, starved needs, abandoned parts of yourself you exiled years ago. And every time you tell yourself, I'm fine, it's not a big deal. I'm over it. You're feeding the Hydra. Jung warned us of this. He called it the shadow, the repressed self, the parts of you you refuse to acknowledge. And the more you ignore them, the more power they gain. Until one day, the beast rises. It looks like a breakdown, a public outburst, a betrayal you swore you'd never commit, a sudden collapse of everything you've built. But it was not sudden. It was growing all along, in silence, in darkness, in the empty corners of your soul where the light never touched. This is the danger of repression. You think you're hiding the pain, but you're only giving it time to evolve. The warrior who ignores his fear becomes reckless. The lover who hides her wounds becomes cold. The leader who suppresses his weakness becomes a tyrant. The more you deny your darkness, the more it shapes your fate. Because what you ignore does not vanish. It waits. And one day, it comes for you. Not as a whisper, but as a storm. So ask yourself, what parts of me have I locked away? What truths do I refuse to feel? What emotion have I cut off, thinking I'd killed it, only to find it stronger than before? The Hydra is not defeated by force. It's defeated by awareness, not by killing your emotions, but by facing them. And until you do, your greatest enemy won't come from the outside. It will come from within. For most of his life, he feared his anger. It made him feel out of control, made others uncomfortable. It reminded him of his father, the shouting, the slamming doors, the fear. So, he did what most people do. He buried it. He smiled when he was furious, laughed when he wanted to scream, apologized when he should have pushed back. To everyone around him, he was the nice guy, easygoing, patient, always calm. But inside, he was cracking. Because the truth is, when you reject a part of yourself, even the ugly part, you don't eliminate it, you only exile it. Carl Jung called this process integration, the act of reclaiming the shadow, of making peace with the parts you've disowned, not to indulge them, not to let them rule you, but to understand them and transform them. One day, this man, now in his 30s, was pushed too far. His boss humiliated him in a meeting. Something inside snapped. But instead of exploding, he did something unfamiliar. He listened to his anger. He went home and sat with it, felt the fire in his chest, the memories of childhood injustice, the moments he'd been walked over, silenced, minimized. And for the first time, he didn't tell himself, calm down. He said, what are you trying to tell me? His anger answered, you need to protect yourself. You need to set boundaries. You need to stop being a doormat. It was not rage, it was wisdom, raw, unrefined, but real. That was the beginning. He started saying no without guilt. He stopped apologizing for existing. He confronted conflict, not with violence, but with presence. His life didn't become perfect, but it became real. Because integration is not about perfection, it's about wholeness. You are not just your kindness, not just your achievements, not just the mask you wear in public. You are also your pain, your rage, your jealousy, your shame, and every part of you that you've tried to bury is still part of you. Jung believed the journey to becoming fully human requires one thing above all, to face the shadow and integrate it. When you do, your darkness no longer controls you from the basement. It walks beside you, as an ally. Anger becomes boundary setting. Fear becomes caution. Sadness becomes empathy. Even envy becomes ambition. But only if you are willing to see the truth. You cannot heal by rejecting parts of yourself. You heal by embracing them and transforming them into something higher. That man who hated his anger, he did not become angrier. He became stronger, more honest, more whole. And maybe so can you. This war is not out there. It's not against your parents, not against society, not even against your past. It's within you. And the truth is, no one can win it for you. Not your therapist, not your partner, not the videos you binge when you feel lost. People can guide you, books can awaken you, ideas can shake you to your core. But in the end, the choice is yours. Will you keep running, keep blaming, keep pretending the pain doesn't exist? Or will you finally stop, turn inward, and face the enemy that has always lived in your own reflection? Carl Jung once wrote, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." That awakening is not peaceful, it's violent, it's ugly. It feels like death, the death of who you thought you were. But something else is born in that fire, the hero, the part of you that's been waiting to rise, the part that does not want comfort. It wants truth. That does not seek safety. It seeks wholeness. And to become whole, you will have to confront what you fear most, your shadow, your rage, your shame, your trauma, your guilt, your own reflection. This is not a movie. There is no savior coming, no final battle with an external villain. This war is silent, internal, and deeply, unavoidably personal. But here's the final truth. If you lose this war, no one will know. Because you will smile, you will function, you will exist, but you won't live. And if you win, no one may notice either, but you'll walk differently. You will speak from your soul, and you will look in the mirror and know the king inside you is no longer dead. He's reborn. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. That means something inside you moved, woke up. But don't let that awakening die here, because awareness is just the first step. Integration is the real work, and that journey, it's not for the faint of heart. It's for those willing to face their own chaos and rise. If you're one of them, subscribe. Because this channel isn't just content, it's a mirror, and every week we go deeper. Drop a comment below. What part of you are you still hiding from? I will be in the replies. Until next time, keep facing the dark. That's where the real light lives.